They say humiliation stings most when it comes from someone who shares your blood, and I learned how true that was on a quiet Tuesday morning in a glass-walled office, where my past, my patience, and my silence were all tested at once. I didn't arrive with an entourage or an announcement. No tailored spotlight or dramatic entrance. Just a simple visitor's badge clipped to my navy blazer, my hands folded calmly as I stood near the wall and observed the rhythm of a place that ran on ambition and appearances. The office belonged to Halcyon Dynamics, a fast-growing firm known for its sleek branding and louder confidence, the kind of place where success wore polished shoes and spoke before it listened. I signed in at the front desk, thanked the receptionist with a nod, and waited, content in the quiet anonymity I had mastered over decades. It didn't take long before Daniel noticed me. My younger brother had always been quick to spot weakness, or what he believed was weakness. He sat at a shared workstation surrounded by glass dividers, his white shirt crisp, sleeves rolled up just enough to suggest hard work, his voice carrying farther than necessary. When his eyes landed on me, his mouth curved into a familiar smirk, the same one he'd worn since childhood, whenever he felt one step ahead. "Well, this is unexpected," he said loudly, drawing the attention of nearby desks. "Didn't think you still knew how to find an office." A few people chuckled, unsure if they were supposed to. I stayed silent. He leaned back, arms crossed, confidence blooming with the attention. "Let me guess," he continued. "Still between jobs? Or are you finally thinking about going back to school?" The words weren't new, but the stage was. I felt the eyes on me, measuring, dismissing, categorizing. I didn't explain that I had spent 20 years in corporate security and internal risk analysis, quietly building systems that kept companies out of courtrooms and headlines, work that never made it to LinkedIn posts because its success meant nothing happened. I didn't tell them I had retired early, not because I failed, but because I could. Daniel mistook my silence for surrender. "This place," he added, voice dripping with pride, "is for people who actually built something." The laughter that followed was polite, strained, the kind that wants approval more than humor. I remained still, my gaze fixed on the glass wall ahead of me, because I had learned long ago that reacting too quickly gives power to the wrong people. That was when the energy in the room shifted, conversations softened, chairs straightened, and footsteps approached with quiet authority. Marcus Hale, the floor director, stepped out of his office, silver-haired, tailored suit, presence calm but commanding in a way that didn't need volume. "Is there an issue here?" he asked, his voice level. Daniel snapped upright instantly, professionalism sliding into place like a mask he'd practiced. "No problem at all, sir," he said with a quick laugh. "Just family. My brother stopped by. He's, figuring things out." Marcus's eyes moved to me, and something changed in his expression. Not surprise, but recognition. He stepped closer. "You're early," he said. I nodded. "Traffic was lighter than expected," I replied. His smile was brief but genuine, the kind given between equals. He turned back to Daniel. "You didn't mention your brother would be visiting today." Daniel frowned, confusion replacing confidence. "He's not visiting," he said. "He doesn't work here." Marcus tilted his head slightly. "Not directly," he agreed. "But he designed the framework we're still using." The room fell silent, not awkward silence, but the heavy kind that arrives when assumptions collapse. "He was the lead consultant on our compliance overhaul," Marcus continued. "The one that kept this firm clear of federal penalties during the merger." Daniel's face drained of color. "You're serious?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Marcus nodded. "We still train our analysts using his protocols. I asked him to review our expansion risks this morning." Daniel looked at me, searching for the punchline that never came. "You never said," he started. "I was never asked," I replied calmly. Marcus glanced at his watch. "Shall we?" he asked. I followed him toward the office, footsteps echoing across a floor now silent with realization. Inside, we discussed vulnerabilities, future risks, the quiet architecture of prevention that most people never see. When the meeting ended and I prepared to leave, Daniel approached me near the elevator, his voice low. Stripped of the audience, he once fed on. "I didn't know," he said. I met his eyes. "Most people don't." I replied. Driving home later, city lights stretching ahead of me, I thought about how often society mistakes noise for achievement and silence for insignificance, and how true success doesn't shout or humiliate. It waits, patient and steady, until the right moment reveals it, needing no explanation at all.